Juan Gloria is our fire chief for McAllen in studio
Good morning.
here at KURV. 7 o'clock hour of the morning news. We do 710 KURV live on X, YouTube, and Facebook, so you can join us there. Also at Radio Para Mi. Got a new fire station at Tres Lagos, right, Chief?
That is correct.
Yeah, so describe it for me. Any new fancy equipment you want to show off and tell us about?
It's a beautiful building. I mean, what can we say, right? Every time we get literally, it's a new home, and so new home, new equipment, new apparatus. Firefighters are very happy to be there and covering this northern portion of our city.
Yeah, Tres Lagos, sprawling neighborhood community.
That is correct.
North McAllen. How many folks does that one station provide?
So that one station on a daily basis, you have anywhere between 3 to 4 individuals. Is one crew, one fire engine, and so that is composed of the lieutenant, the officer, the driver, and
the neighbor. How many people do we have?
Exactly, wouldn't have that number, but like you mentioned, I mean, it's a community that has grown tremendously since its inception, and it continues to grow. I mean, all you need to do is take a quick drive, go a little bit further west, and that whole area, it's part of a master plan community that basically. Ground was, broken, and the project got started about 10 years ago, and so yeah, it keeps on growing.
We help each other out, though, whether it's North Mission, Alton area, Edinburgh.
That is correct. That is correct. I mean, there is a mutual aid agreement that has been in place here in the Rio Grande Valley for many years. But at the same time, it is very important, and it is our responsibility to make sure that we provide proper fire protection coverage for all of the city limits of our community here in McAllen.
You were explaining to me off air the certain rating
that is correct.
We have, and I'm going to school on that one. I had to stop because we had to start this conversation.
Yeah.
But I did not know. It sounded to me like there is a direct correlation between insurances for homes and buildings, and how FDs are rated based on the size, right? Like per capita service or something like that?
Well, the way it works is the Insurance Service Office, as we know it, the ISO, provides different ratings or classifications for fire departments based on their capabilities, right? And so there is so many things, that come into the picture, but basically, based on the size of your community and your population and the type of buildings that you have, if you have, mostly residential, if you have commercial, if you have, multi-story buildings, is what dictates what kind of protection you should have, not just in the type of apparatus that you should have, but also the amount of staffing that you should have. And so when it comes to that, City of McAllen, we are a Class 2 fire department. We're just a tad, just a couple of points away from crossing the threshold to becoming a Class 1, which is one thing that our mayor, our city leaders, our city manager are working diligently to, try to get the McAllen Fire Department, the city of McAllen, to a Class 1 ISO.
Okay, so that is a goal.
Absolutely, absolutely,
so
it is a goal.
Personnel in comparison to population size, for us, right?
To a certain extent, yes. Now, one of the things that the ISO requires is that, going back to the different type of fire trucks, if you have a conventional fire engine should cover an area of 1.5 road miles. It's not so much its circumference, but it's the actual road miles that you cover, right? And then when it comes to ladder trucks, the big, heavy, long, ladder trucks that go up in the air.
The big, pretty ones everybody wants for Christmas.
Yeah, the big, pretty ones, right? ISO requires that a ladder truck has a coverage area of 2.5 road miles. And so when you plug in those numbers, you look at our city limits, you look at the current location of every single fire station, and then you look at those fire stations that have a ladder truck versus a conventional fire engine, and you overlay those road miles, the 1.5 and the 2.5, it allows you to see right away on the map what areas you may be lacking coverage. And that is part of the goal to start closing in those gaps and making sure that you have stations there. What those road miles, especially for the conventional fire engine, what the 1.5 mile basically tells you is that there's also some other requirements in terms of response. How soon is the first fire engine required to be at the scene of, per se, a residential structure fire. And so response times, of course, when it comes to emergencies, every second count. And so it is very important that you have that proper coverage of every gap that you may have in your city. And so adding Station 8 on the Tres Lagos area helps us further cover those gaps. And we may still have some gaps. I mean, we all know that every community is not perfectly round or perfectly square. There is always all kinds of different lines in our city limits.
Yeah.
And so, we position our fire stations and our staffing and the type of trucks that we put in those stations strategically. We put them there to be able to cover these gaps and to make sure that we have the right amount of staff and the right type of apparatus, the right type of equipment for the area that we're covering.
They recently opened their new fire station, number 8 in Tres Lagos, North McAllen, or Fire Chief for McAllen, Juan Gloria, joining us. Does it mean for me as a homeowner in McAllen, does it mean anything that the insurance gods that rate or FD as, you said, a rating 2 or Class 2?
That's correct.
We're getting really close to Class 1. Does it mean anything for my insurance rates in the future, or is it just a rating for the fire department? Because when we hit rating 1, Class 1,
yes,
we're safer, right?
Yeah.
The insurance companies are going to...
That is correct. So,
right?
so in simple terms, if you are in a community that is a Class 1, or as high as possible of a rating that you can get, that means that you have the staffing and apparatus and equipment properly placed throughout your city. And so if your home, if your business was to catch on fire, the odds, the chances of your local fire department being able to put it out, suppress that fire before there is, major damage, the chances are high. Right? Because you comply, because you have that equipment in place, the staffing in place, your response times are good. A department that is a lower classification of insurance service office, then that means that you may be a department of, just one, a couple of stations, or regardless of the amount of stations, you may not be placed properly. You may not have the amount of staffing necessary to effectively and safely, extinguish a fire. And so that's how the insurance service office dictates that if you are in a community where your fire department is a Class 1, then absolutely you're going to get the lowest possible insurance rates for your community in general, regardless if it is commercial or not.
They would cut us a break then, right? Or potentially cut us a break.
That is correct.
That's interesting.
That is correct.
So when do we hit Class 1?
Well, hopefully sooner than later. We have been in conversations with our city manager, and we've been developing that plan, the strategic plan, to determine, the timeline and what are the things that we need to prioritize to try to get there.
My goodness. The way we're growing in the valley, that we're growing in McAllen, it feels like whack-a-mole. We're still trying to catch up, I would imagine, because the population growth is impressive.
Yeah.
How many more firefighters or ladder trucks do we need in order to hit that Class 1? Do you know?
Currently, we count with 2 ladder trucks that are fully staffed 24/7, one on the north side of McAllen and one on the south side of McAllen. That puts us right at the maximum credit compliance requirement for ISO. Of course, if we were to add a third one, of course, that makes it even better. But we do have, when it comes to ladder trucks, we do have what is required so far for our community. But going back to Station 8, we have 8 fire engines now, and think about 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, Tres Lagos was nothing but open land. There is no real roads. There is no development. There was no construction there. And so even though we might have all that area within our city limits, it doesn't really affect you because you don't have that much infrastructure, homes, and value in place. Fast forward to now, 10, 15 years later, it's heavily populated, and so
you got a university,
and exactly, and so of course, that's the time in which it is very important that you have things in place, and a lot of people don't know, how expensive it is, and how long it can take a community to put together a new fire engine. This is literally a project that for the fire department started about 8 to 10 years ago. The foresight of our city leaders back then to make sure that we said, okay, by around 2024, 2025, we need to be ready.
So Isaac Tawil, our city manager, and all the gang at City Hall, they're running the numbers based on the rate of growth.
Correct.
And how close we are to get that Class 1 designation. They're probably running the numbers to figure out how many more personnel.
Correct. And one of the components of our city, one of our city departments is basically the long-term strategic planning of the growth of our city, and that also assists us on determining what the priorities should be.
How many people you got on payroll? How many firefighters, personnel you got on payroll at
firefighters, uniform personnel, not counting me as the fire chief, we count with 181 staff.
Okay, so we need 200 in order to get to class 1?
Not necessarily, because there is not a single route to get to class 1.
You got to get equipment.
There is equipment. There is locations of fire stations. Some communities may want to even consider relocating a fire station from a current location to a new, more strategic, location for response.
You got an academy, like folks being trained right now to be a fire.
That is correct. Our fire department counts with his own training division under the leadership of Training Deputy Chief Philip Winger, and him and his staff are the ones that take all brand new candidates, they bring them in and they put them through the academy, which is about 9 to 10 months long. They come in off the street and they come out certified as Texas firefighters, emergency medical technicians, and emergency driver operators for the fire apparatus.
What are the requirements, qualifications for somebody who wants it?
Yeah, you need to be between 18 and 35 years of age, high school diploma or GED, of course, U.S. citizen or legal resident, and that's basically it. I mean, there's and
in good physical shape,
of course, and so that's what I was going to say. We have different steps in the process. You start with your written exam, which is basically a general education type written exam. Is multiple choice and some math, some scenarios, reading comprehension, things of that nature, mechanical aptitude, stuff like that. After you successfully complete and pass the written exam, then you go to a physical fitness assessment, which is very basic. It's a 1.5 mile run, a few push-ups, a few sit-ups, just to make sure that you have the aptitude for physical fitness. After that, there is a agility test, and then of course there is the background checks, a psychological exam, and a physical medical exam before you clear to start the academy.
Juan Gloria is our fire chief for the city of McAllen. These folks that are going to be graduating from the academy here pretty soon, you're going to start up another one here?
That is correct. So we have an academy that started about 8 months ago. Those fire cadets will be going to the trucks hopefully here within the next month and a half or two. And we are in the process of starting another academy, a new batch of fire cadets here within the next couple of months as well, to continue that cycle of fulfilling all of the viable positions that we have approved in the fire department budget. And retirements always come around, and there's always a need for new firefighters to come and fill in the gap.
Well, thanks for stopping by, Chief.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Be safe, you and the crew.
Thank you.
Juan Gloria, our fire chief for the city of McAllen.